What do you do when the world you built starts falling apart around you? When the people who helped you build it start walking out the door? Most bands will quietly fade, or worse, panic, and release something they don't believe in. Evergrey did something different. They sat down, processed the chaos, and turned it into a record, and honestly, the result is more interesting than I expected. Welcome back. Today we're diving into Architects of New Weave, the 15th, and yes, you heard that right, 15th studio album from Swedish progressive power metal band Evergrey, released June 5th, 2026 via Napalm Records. And I've got a lot to say about this one, so let's get into it. So I want to be honest with all of you, I'm not a diehard Evergrey fan. I'm not the person who's going to sit here and compare this to In Search of Truth like it's a sacred text. My entry point into this band was actually their 2022 album, A Heartless Portrait, The Orphean Testament. I thought it was a really solid progressive metal record. It was dark, atmospheric, and emotionally heavy. I thought it was pretty good. Then Theories of Emptiness came out in 2024. I like that one even more, and the whole concept built around psychological idea of emptiness really clicked with me. Since then, I've been a casual listener, tuning in when something new drops, not obsessively digging through the back catalog. And this review actually came out of a community tab poll I ran just a couple days ago, so shout out to everyone who voted for this one. You made the call, and let's see if it was the right one. So let's talk about what this album actually is and where it comes from, because the context here matters. Evergrey went through some significant changes in the lead up to this record. Longtime drummer Jonas Ekdahl stepped back from the live and studio duties in 2024, transitioning into a behind-the-scenes role. That's a big deal. Ekdahl had been part of the band's sound for a long time. Then, just before the writing process was wrapping up, guitarist Henrik Dafage departed in April of 2026. So the band was essentially navigating a major lineup shakeup in real time while trying to make the album. Now, the Den Hadj situation is worth a little more context. He actually had two separate stints with the band across 21 years, so it wasn't a casual split. He initially stepped back in late 2025, and his departure was officially confirmed on April 7, 2026. And then after that, 2 days later, the band announced the replacement. So it's either incredibly well planned or a sign just how prepared they were to keep moving forward. The new guy is Stephen Platt, who many of you might recognize from Scar Symmetry. He actually spent all of 2025 touring with Evergrey as a live supporting guitarist. So by the time he announced he was a full-time member, he wasn't exactly a stranger, and you can hear that comfort level on the record. The transition feels seamless in a way it really shouldn't, given the circumstances. Behind the board, the album was produced by frontman Thomas Englund alongside Vikram Shankar, with mixing handled by Nolly Getgood. And he is the former Periphery bassist, a very in-demand producer now. And this is a notable guest appearance on the track A Burning Flame, who is Mikael Stanne of Dark Tranquillity and The Halo Effect, two Gothenburg metal legends. All right, let's be honest about where this album stumbles, because it does stumble in a few places. So the biggest complaint, and this is what I read online, it's not from me personally, this is more from the purist crowd, the Evergrey fans, and a lot of them are saying that the songwriting has been simplified. So if you grew up with the more intricate labyrinth arrangements of early Evergrey, some of these tracks are going to feel a little bit too clean or too tidy. The mid-tempo structures and familiar formula of chugging riffs, sustained chords, and big soaring choruses are all present and accounted for, but they don't always push anywhere or go or do anything different. There's also a production issue worth flagging. Nolly's mix is punchy and modern, but it creates a pretty dense wall of sound, and certain points of Tom Englund's vocals get a little buried in heavier passages. For a vocalist who is generally one of the best in the genre, it's a frustrating trade-off. And then there's the lyrical shift, and I respect what they're going for, writing hopeful, empowering lyrics about 30 years of pure melancholia takes guts, but a handful of lines miss the landing and tip over into cliche territory. When you built your entire identity on raw, emotionally precise poetry, uplifting is harder to register to pull than heartbroken, and it shows in a few spots. Mikael's Stanne feature is also worth addressing because it was clearly a big promotional talking point. His contribution on A Burning Flame is so blended into the overall texture of the track, it barely registers as a distinct element. Two of Gothenburg's finest on the same song, and you have to squint to hear the seam. That's a missed opportunity. Now here's where I flip the coin, because despite those criticisms, the album has some genuinely great qualities that I think get undersold when the purist discourse takes over. Tom Englund's vocal performance throughout is phenomenal, and even the mix works against him. The emotional weight he brings to every line is undeniable. The way he sells the transition from despair into something resembling hope feels earned rather than manufactured. Because Xander's keyboard work deserves its own mention, he's not playing background filler here. His synthesizer and symbolic layers give the whole album a cinematic, widescreen quality that makes it feel genuinely grand in scope. And structurally, the album flows beautifully as a complete piece. The sequencing is smart. The journey from track 1 to the closer feels intentional, not arbitrary. Let me talk about 5 key tracks that really define what the album is doing. So, first up is the opener, Welcome to the Pattern. I know it's just an opener. I know it's kind of like an intro track, but let's talk about it. It has a cinematic spoken word segment over this atmospheric synth, and then the full band comes in. It's just there to set the scene. It establishes the metaphorical prison of negative habits and guilt that the rest of the album is trying to break out of. So it's a strong opener. First main song is The Shadow Self, and this one surprised me. The chorus has a light, almost feathery musical quality, and sits right on top of the heavy low-end guitar chugs. It's an unusual juxtaposition that actually works, and one of the few moments where the album genuinely feels like it's taking a stylistic risk, so it's a solid track. Then we have the title track, Architects of New Weave, and also the lead single. This is built around a driving keyboard hook. It explodes into dual trading guitar solos and a chorus that will genuinely not leave your head. It's the thematic core of the album, a fist-pumping anthem about tearing down what's broken and building something new. If you're going to start somewhere with a record, start here. Track 4 on my list is Leaving the Emptiness, which functions as the album's turning point. New drummer Simon Sandis goes to work here, and the whole thing has this explosive major key energy that contrasts with lyrics about finally turning around to face the pain you've been running from. Evergrey described it as a deliberate clash between euphoric music and heavy subject matter, and it really does it very well. And finally, A Burning Flame featuring Mikael Stanne. And yes, I said the feature was underutilized, but I stand by that. But the track itself is a dark, dense symphonic piece that leans hard into classic Gothenburg metal heritage. The concept, burning down the wreckage of your past to clear the ground for something new, fits the album perfectly, even if the collaboration didn't reach the full potential. So now in conclusion, here's my honest take. If you're a casual fan of Evergrey like me, most of the criticisms you read about the album are probably going to float right past you. The complaints about simplified structures and lyrical cliches, those are really for the diehards who have been there since the early records. But for people like me or the rest of us, it's just a well-made, emotionally engaging heavy metal album from a band that's not done yet. If you're new to Evergrey, this one is actually a pretty reasonable entry point. It's representative of what the band does. It's dark atmosphere, powerful vocals, cinematic production, slightly more accessible rapper than some of their earlier work. Is it the best album? No, it's the worst, not even close. It's a good Evergrey album, a resilient one, a band staring down the line of changes and uncertainty and choosing to build something rather than collapse. I respect that, and the music reflects it. My score for this will be 7.5 out of 10, and if you've heard it, let me know what you think down in the comments, and if you voted for it in the poll, a good call, and thanks for watching. Check out this playlist, 2026 album reviews. You can see all the new album reviews I did. I also did the new Evanescence album this weekend, so you can check that out as well. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.